put on night vision goggles, and the lights turn off, with Yona here mentioning that they're about to head for a long tunnel. Curtis orders everyone to move back as the passengers are forced to fight in the dark. With no way to see their enemy, the poor people are brutally killed one by one. Curtis here calls out for a fire to light the train, and this little boy is sent out, taking a flaming torch through the living quarters, which is passed on to the other survivors. A bunch of poor people run into the train section with flaming torches, and one of them is tossed into the room as the passengers begin to fight back. This shirtless man runs to the front, signaling to the train worker that he'll be killed if they don't surrender, and the conductor tries to get his men to stop fighting, but no one cares. After killing him, the passenger runs for the remaining men and throws his knife at the woman, hitting her straight in the leg. Curtis looks back to see her being dragged into the next train section, but then hears his friend calling for help. The man sees Edgar has been taken hostage and makes the decision to chase after the woman, letting his friend be sacrificed for the greater good. He quickly runs over to the train official and takes her prisoner, forcing her to stop the men from fighting. He walks through the crowd of dead passengers, but that's when this man comes rushing forward, and he's stopped at the last second by Yona here, who kills him using a metal spear. With the situation contained, Gilliam walks to the front and orders everyone to wash themselves in the bloodshed in the water supply section. Okay, Curtis and the other passengers have made it to the water supply, which is a crucial resource for the train's operation. The fight was bloody and the rebel passengers lost a lot of their ranks. This is only the beginning if they want to make it to the engine, and there's bound to be more bloodshed and fighting on the way there. However, the passengers can strategize here and save some of their lives now that they have the train's water supply within their control. This woman is the passenger's hostage, and she has a direct line of communication with the front of the train. The best case scenario in this situation is collecting enough water for the rebels and passengers in the back of the train, while the rebels poison the water supply for the front of the train. The only problem with this plan is that the water supply in this room is only used for those in the back half of the train, and poisoning it from the protein bar room would be essentially useless. Since the front of the train gets their water from a different source, they would only be hurting their own people if they tried to block off access to the water supply. That means that the passengers will have to get creative to take advantage of the resources they've gained in these train carriages. In the protein bar room, there are hordes of cockroaches that are ground up and used for the back of the train's food. Rather than grinding them up, I would collect hordes of these cockroaches and bring them into the front carriage when I get there. By releasing hundreds of cockroaches amongst the front of the train passengers, it will create disorder and chaos during a fight, and will make it harder for Wilford's men to pinpoint me as the rest of the carriage panics. Water isn't typically used as a form of weaponry except for certain torture tactics, but since the resources are so limited, the rebels should attempt to freeze some of the water into blocks of ice to use later while they're fighting. They can then use these blocks like blunt objects to knock Wilford's men unconscious, like a brutal and fatal snowball fight. Freezing the ice ball shouldn't be hard either, since just outside their window is freezing temperatures, able to freeze a man's arm off. The passengers are also still not utilizing Yona's clairvoyant abilities. They should try to sit with her and run by several options and plans to see how they pan out in order to use the best strategy necessary moving forward. It's possible she's able to see multiple realities if we stand near the door of the water room train and consider entering it. If she sees gruesome deaths in our future, then we'll hold off and strategize until we can come up with a better plan for attack. Later, the poor people interrogate the train official on the missing children and threaten to cut her limbs off if she doesn't comply. Terrified, the woman confesses that Wilford might know where the children are. Curtis urges her to call the man now, or else they'll shut the water supply off and force him to come. The lady mocks him, pointing out that his plan won't work and that he failed to save his friend. Furious, the man freaks out and threatens to kill her. She insists the leader won't come to help her even if the water supply is stopped, offering to help him find a safe passage to his location. Later, Gilliam questions if Curtis here wants to keep going, mentioning that this is the farthest anyone has made it through the train. Curtis insists that they'll keep going, but the old man informs him that the passengers are beginning to lose hope, with so many already dead. Curtis tells him that he'll go alone while the old man takes care of the wounded until he reaches the front of the train. Gilliam gets up and reluctantly agrees to this plan, informing him that Wilford is behind a big gate with a W sign, but warns him to not let the man talk, even if that means cutting off his tongue. The next day, Curtis and the other appointed members get ready to travel through the next set of trains, while the old man tells his